Okay, quick question for ya. Have you ever thought about the roles you play at work? Like actual roles. Not just what you do, but how you show up. Because in this episode, I'm talking with my friend Guy Baker, who just might change the way you think about all of it. He's a leadership trainer, an attorney, and also a cosplayer. Yeah, like full-on costume character embodiment. And what he shares is honestly kind of brilliant. We talk about the difference between just wearing the role and truly becoming it. What trainers, speakers, and leaders can learn from stepping into character. And why authenticity, audience awareness, and even what you wear matters more than you think. If you've ever felt like you're presenting instead of really connecting, this one is going to spark something for you. Let's get into it. All right. Well, I have been waiting for this day. I feel like it's been about a year and a half because I met Guy Baker at a conference. He was shining and smiling and had the best hair in the group. Sorry to everybody else if you're listening, but Guy's hair is everything. And we have Guy here today on the podcast, and I am just so excited. We have, what is it? It's a attorney to claims adjuster, to leadership trainer, leadership people person, people leader, to training director. But there's also something else that's going on that I can't wait to get into. And without further ado, Guy, please introduce yourself, what you do beyond what I just described, and what is your form of artistry?
Great. Well, thank you, Kassy. I'm excited to be here today. As you mentioned, attorney, went into claims early in my career and worked my way up through claims. And all while doing that, maintained a avid passion for cosplay and creating costumes. So not quite as many years as I've been in claims, but about half as many years as I've been in claims, I've also spent sewing and making props and various other things that I will go to conventions with friends and whatnot.
So we have an official cosplayer on the show today. Boy, that is so interesting to me. And as I got to know you more and see some of the pictures we have, if you're watching the video, you can see some things happening behind you. But if you're listening in, there's a costume that that Guy has behind him, and there's also some characters and things. But the more that I learn about you, the more I was like, I want you to come on the show and talk about this whole creative and wonderful side of you that just shows up. You know, you think attorney and training director, claims adjusting, cosplayer, person who creates costumes and scenes and takes on roles and creates entire environments. It plays out so much in the world that we are with learning and development. I can't wait to hear more about it.
It does, especially like the role play aspect of it, because with cosplayers, for those that aren't familiar, as Kassy mentioned, it is people that are fans of various. It can be anime, it could be TV shows, it can be cartoons, it can be any medium, and it's basically you're creating and portraying a character from one of those mediums. Could even be books, So, and when you do it, there's different schools. Some people just like to dress like the character. Other people like to embody the character. Right. And so there's an element of role play there as well. And you also have what we call closet cosplayers, where they will put together costumes from what they have in their closet. Right. And they try and be accurate to the character. And there's also like me. So I'm personally what I refer to as a screen accurate cosplayer. So what that means is I endeavor in any costume that I undertake, I endeavor to be as accurate to the character, whether it's the cartoon, the movie, the TV show, as authentic to that character as I can, right? And obviously cosplay is for everyone. You do not have to be a certain body type, a certain race, a certain gender. You can crossplay, men can dress as female characters, females can dress as male characters. You can be a male version of a female character. I mean, there's just so many things about it that it is so welcoming, and there's no limitations. And that's one of the things I like about it as well.
So you mentioned screen accurate,
yes,
and then you mentioned closet cosplay.
Hmm.
And when I got to
Yeah.
tell you, when you said closet cosplay, I was like, oh, they do it in secret,
No, yeah, I
In a
know
closet.
and more of that is instead of making elaborate things or going out and buying or purchasing costumes, you'll just go to your closet and you'll find stuff that you may have already in your closet that you can put together and create a costume that is that character, right?
Yeah.
I 1 year or so when I first started, I wasn't making a costume, but I was going to a convention with a bunch of my friends, and they were all doing X-Men characters. So I helped a number of them with their costumes. And I forget why I wasn't wearing my costume that particular con, but because I have X-Men costumes. But anyway, so they were putting it together. I even learned how to do body paint. So that's another thing too. So even in the realm of cosplay, I learned new skills just like as a trainer. You have to learn new skills to apply. You have to, be able to pivot on the fly. Well, at the time, my partner wanted to go as Iceman, which is not really a costume. You can do costumes, but he wanted to do the traditional body that was body made of ice. So I actually took body painting lessons so I could learn how to do body paint and then did his body paint for his Iceman costume.
Wow.
So he ran around all day in flip flops, a Speedo, and body paint
Wow.
to embody Iceman. But anyway, so while they were doing all this, I helped all of them with their costumes, and they were all like, "You need to dress up. You need to dress up." So I went to my closet, and through a blazer I had, a sport coat I had, slacks I had, a shirt I had, and actual glasses that I found from I think one of my other friends, I put together, obviously, as you mentioned, my great hair, I put together a Stan Lee cosplay.
Oh, perfect.
So, and all I had to do, I had to shave the beard because all he has is a mustache. So I did shave the beard. I painted the mustache with some paint you can get for hair or for dye you can get for hair, painted it white. And I went as a Stan Lee, and we thought it was so appropriate because I helped them make parts of their costume,
Of
and
course.
Stan Lee made the X-Men.
He made the X-Men,
So,
that's right, and he always makes an
yeah.
appearance in any scene,
Yeah.
anywhere, at least any movie.
Hmm.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
really
So
cool, and
that was
so
a cosplay. Yeah. I bought nothing. I had to buy nothing, I think, except the paint for my mustache.
yeah,
So,
I see. And so that is, but you mentioned the word embody, so the is screen accuracy separate from, um, closet cosplay is screen accuracy, and then you mentioned embodying a character versus
yeah.
there was another term there.
Yeah, so some people just want to dress as their character, right? And
Okay.
they just want to look like their character. And other people want to actually embody that character. So that's where role play comes into play because you'll learn their mannerisms. So, for instance, you mentioned the costume behind me. The costume behind me, for those that are watching and those that aren't watching and are listening, is Pacha from Emperor's New Groove. And if you guys remember, that's the one that I believe it's John Goodman is who voices him in the cartoon. And so Pacha in the cartoon has this moment where he makes a facial expression. And it's like the okay, and he's like,
Yeah,
and it's things like that, the little mannerisms that people will learn or people will try and copy. It's even inflections in voice, how they
mhm,
speak, things of those nature. So when you're trying to really embody the character you're doing or the role you're doing, it's almost like theater. You've had the other guests on here that have talked about theater and how that comes into play with training.
right.
It's similar to that, the role play and the theater of cosplay.
It's so interesting
So,
to think about learning too, like, are we embodying or are we just showing up
right.
and putting on the outfit, you know?
And I think it depends on the role you're at. As a facilitator, you're kind of
Mm.
showing up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you're
like, do we
not.
need to embody, and are what are we
Mhm,
teaching people to be
mhm,
able to do and at what level? And I
yeah,
just wonder where it plays out and like you said, how necessary it is. I think the key thing is having the choices and looking at it from the different angles. I think
yeah.
I'm drawn to this concept of, am I just putting on the outfit or am I embodying the entire role?
Right. And that's something you have to, as a trainer, as a facilitator, as a learning and development professional, that's what you have to kind of decide. And I think depending on the role and depending on the topic, it can vary, right? I mean, depending on the topic that you're giving, maybe you want to more embody that topic that you're facilitating on, or you're talking about, you're speaking about. Whereas something that is maybe you're just teaching a process,
Mm-hmm.
or you're facilitating that where you're not necessarily embodying anything, you're more just there to impart the knowledge, right?
Mm.
Whereas you can get more engagement in something else where if you're fully invested, fully immersed in the role, for lack of a
Mm.
better term.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I can't help it, as anyone does when you hear somebody say something, you start thinking about how does that relate to me? And so I'm
Right.
thinking here myself, like as a self-employed person, I think about how do I embody the speaker that I want
Hmm.
that I want them to hire, and this like where this is coming up for me today and speaking with some potential opportunities just this week. They want more of a leadership focus. And so
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm going to embody somebody, a speaker who could
Hmm.
command a room full of leaders. It's a different than an embodiment than the speaker who's going to lead a room full of practitioners.
Hmm.
And
Right. And the way you think about that is just like I would prepare for a role as a character, right? You would look at confidence. What do you think typical leadership ideals that you would expect, and that's what you need to portray. That's what you need to embody, depending on what your
yeah,
audience is. So confidence, you know, obviously not arrogance, but you want to do confidence. You want to have that strength, that power. The conviction of what you're talking about, you actually believe in, and
yeah,
then you'll get those people to sell it.
right.
So much like the character, because the more I believe that I am that character, or that I'm being that character, and the more true I am to that character, the more people will believe that I'm that character, or
Yeah.
the people will see that I'm that character. Yeah.
I just had a funny thought. You know what you're making me think of too? Have you ever seen that meme floating around? It says, they said to dress for the job that you want.
Hmm.
And the meme is like, well, queen, obviously, for me. I
Right.
I show up dress for the job that you want, the career that you're headed towards, and people show up at work in a princess outfit,
Hmm. My favorite is the meme with that is the one where it's Batman or Wonder Woman sitting in HR. Dress for the job you want, and it was funny when I showed up in HR dressed as Batman. So yeah,
Exactly. I want to be
that's one of
Batman.
my
Thank
favorite
you very
ones
much.
too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. This is taking me down this path of the idea of like dress code. Because I do think in our world today, we are increasingly more casual, generally speaking, in
Mhm.
corporate life than we have been in previous decades. Now, I know that this is going to change across industries because I start thinking about you work in the insurance industry, and I bet it's still quite suited. Uh, but
Yes and no. So I'm headquartered in New York, but I work in one of our offices and don't want to dox myself, but in Kansas City, in the Kansas City metro area.
Mhm.
So obviously our dress code here is a little bit more, I don't want to say lax. We still have a dress code across all of our offices, but it is a little bit higher, expectations when we go to the home office in New York. So, whereas like this, probably what I'm wearing would still be appropriate with slacks, etc. You're going to see more people in blazers. You're going to see more people in
Yeah.
jackets. You're going to see more things like that when I go to the New York office than you would in some of our other
And
smaller
like,
offices.
so here's what I'm thinking. Like, as I think about how, like, traditionally there's like, especially in onboarding programs, there's the content and the topic of, how we dress here, like what our culture is, what's expected of you. And I get the sense, and I could be wrong, but I get the sense of it's not like people love that topic so much. I mean, certainly they want the answer and they want to fit in and they want to do the right thing. They don't necessarily like go, yay, there's a dress code. I'm so
Hmm.
excited to know about it. But however, when we were looking at it today from the angle of embodying the role and the angle of the cosplayer, I felt excited and interested, and I wanted to lean in and be like, what do I need to do? Whereas myself in that role of the you're telling me what I have to wear to work, I'm resistant. And I just find it so interesting because is it not the same thing with a completely different context?
Yeah, I think it is. Thinking about it, and I hadn't thought about it from that standpoint, but Very much so, because, in my career, I've been with a number of different carriers. They've all had different policies, and how comfortable you are with the culture and with showing up to work. Like, for instance, one of my previous positions, they were very, um, they like to provide a lot of swag, obviously, branded sweatshirts and other apparel for their employees. But the best part about it is if it was basically branded, you could wear it.
Okay.
And when you were hired as part of the culture, you got to select for free. You got to pick out one or two different items from the place where we could order our swag, where they could order the apparel, and that included things like joggers and sweatshirts and stuff like that. And we were obviously, if we were having a meeting with external clients or something like that, they would frown upon you wearing joggers. But if I'm just coming in day to day work and it's branded apparel, I could wear my joggers and my sweatshirt and be
Nice.
completely fine. And nobody would treat me any different, look at me any different, or think of me any lesser.
Yeah, that's
And I
perfect.
did enjoy that part of the aspect, and
Yeah.
just being able to be comfortable when I came to work and not have to worry about the button up or the polo or how many buttons do I have to have this, do I have to have this tightened up or anything like that. That does make a difference,
Yeah. That's just how
and it
you
does
show up
impact
there,
you.
the roles we play. If we could take it
Mhm.
back for a moment, when do you become a person who's into cosplay? Like, how did that happen? Is this a long time coming, or is it right around the time that you mentioned early with your friends with the X-Men? Or yeah,
So for me, Halloween has always been a big deal since I was a kid. So for me, cosplay started when I was a kid because I used to love dressing up, and that just stayed with me as an adult. I have pictures from me in college where I think that's one of the earliest pictures I have of me in a Star Trek costume.
yeah.
Is I think my senior year of high school or my freshman year of college, one of my best friends, his mother was a really good seamstress, and McCall's or one of the big pattern companies, they actually produced the pattern for the on-screen Star Trek uniforms.
Oh wow, nice.
So she actually made me a screen accurate costume of the I think it was season one, season two of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh
So,
cool.
and I still have now, I can't fit in it anymore, unfortunately, but I still have that costume that she made me.
Yeah.
And I have the pattern now to remake it for myself.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's sort of when it started. And then I got really deep into it when I started going to conventions, more comic conventions and the like. So, as you pointed out too, I have collectibles in the background behind me too. I've been collecting comic books and statues and toys since I was, probably 30, 40 years.
Wow.
So since I was a kid, and a lot of my toys that I have when I was a kid, yes, I played with them, but I still have them and they're still intact, and I have them displayed downstairs in my man cave. So that's a big thing too. And so that I think just led to it as well.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I ran into like-minded people at the conventions. You go to these conventions and you see these people with these elaborate costumes.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, how do they do that? I could never do something like that. Well, you can if you put your mind to it. Just like with training, there may be something that you're trying to teach, and someone may be thinking, no, I'm never going to figure that out or never know how to do that.
Right.
Well, you have the right trainer, you have the right teacher, and you can learn it,
You can
and the
learn
right
it.
mindset.
Yep.
They also have to have the right mindset. They have to be willing to learn. They have to be open to learning. When I started my cosplay journey, I didn't know how to sew. So
Well, I was
I
going to
could
ask you about
hand,
that because you taught yourself how to sew, didn't you?
I did. So I knew how to hand sew. I could hand stitch some stuff and things like that. But when I got big into it, I wanted to do screen accurate, so I wanted to be as close to my source material as possible. But I also wanted to make my own. I didn't want to hire, I didn't want to commission, and that's completely fine. There's again no gatekeepers to cosplay. Some people try to be gatekeepers, but there shouldn't be. And so some people buy their costumes, some people buy store-bought costumes, some people will commission people and pay hundreds to thousands of dollars
I believe it.
for these elaborate costumes. Myself, I wanted to be able to do it myself.
Hmm.
And so through YouTube, through my friend who she had been sewing since she was really young, we would get together and do sewing nights. So she would come over and teach me or show me the basics, but then let me do it. Right. And she would be there to answer questions or to explain to me, just like a good facilitator or just like a good trainer would be there to answer my questions, to show me what I needed to do, to explain it to me about how to do it.
Yeah.
And I went from not being able to sew a lick on a sewing machine to, I've shown you before, I've made full gowns. For one of my costumes, I did a character from Sailor Moon. It was one of her villains. And it's a full-on, I think it's a Vogue pattern. It's a full-on mermaid dress gown, full-length gown that took me about 40 hours
It's
probably to finish
amazing.
from
It
start to
is
finish.
so amazing. Do you have any pictures readily right close by you, or things that you can share? People are going to want to see it because we've got
Me.
some things in the view here, but are there some things that are close by you?
So like again, my pacha, I
Yeah.
made this,
You made that, and it is so it's so beautiful, and it looks just like that character.
and it is lined, it is stitched, it is hemmed. I mean, fully everything here. Even his hat I made. It's like a faux leather. It's almost like, well, it's a suede basically.
Yeah. So it lays just like him with that face. I love that
Yep.
so much.
And again, same thing. It's fully stitched.
Fully stitched right
But
down to
I
every
don't
detail.
have any pictures I can share. Let me go to my phone. We'll see how well
We
this
can
works
also
in the
send it to you
camera.
too, like if we wanted to put, because people can't help but be like, we want to see what you've made. I think
Yeah.
at least. What are some of your
S-
favorite characters that you've made? I know Pacha is a big one because he's right here.
it's not
Oh,
gonna. So
is
yeah,
this the Sailor Moon one you just
that's
described?
the Sailor Moon
Oh
one.
my gosh, that is absolutely stunning. You have to see it. For those listening, he held up his phone and we just got to see the picture. I'll see if I can get a hold of it and we'll put it
I'll
somewhere.
get some photos and send them. And also, most of the picture. I guess I should have mentioned this. Most of the pictures are going to be on my Instagram.
Oh,
You're going to
great.
see. So yeah, so my Instagram is going to be a large combination of cosplay and my collectibles. So that's mainly
Oh.
what I post on Instagram.
Well, if you're
So
open to sharing that with us, we can put it in the show notes so people can go check it out there too. Thank you.
yeah, I sent it. Yeah, you should have it because I think I
Yeah.
sent it when I was sending you information. So yeah, people are welcome to look at my Instagram. Again, it's my collectibles mainly, and my cosplay is what I use it for.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that so much.
but yeah,
What are some of the favorites that you've created? So obviously the two that you've just talked about and shown
yeah.
us. And then I know there was another fabulous Magneto that you did,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh my God.
Magneto is one of my favorites. So it's funny also when I'm trying to choose what characters I'm going to do.
Yeah, like how do you go about
I
doing that? Yeah.
So for me, it goes to what it resonates, what sort of properties resonate strongly with me. So Star Trek's a big one. I think I have 3 different Star Trek uniforms that I have. So I have the original Next Generation one. I made I sewed one of the 3rd or 4th things that I did myself was a science officer. So think Spock from the original. I did a blue original Star Trek costume. Uh,
Not a
down
red
to
shirt.
talking
We don't
about
want any red shirts going on, right?
right, no red shirt, but talking about screen accurate. Those costumes were made out of fabrics that we don't use in modern day
Really?
textiles. So it's a double knit nylon. We now have modern textiles which have the same sort of feel and same properties, but it's not the same fabric. So I actually looked and hunted down and sourced double knit nylon from the 60s or 70s or from they used to make it, and used that to make my Star Trek costume so that it was as accurate to how they made their costumes originally when they did the show. Yeah. So
That's
one of my
awesome.
other favorites I've done She-Ra
Yep.
from I did a brief little ladies of the 80s. I did She-Ra and Jem from Jem and the Holograms. I've done Bob's Burgers. I've done the children. So Tina is one of my favorites favorite cosplays that I've done. She was super easy. I just had to make the skirt. I didn't,
Yeah.
because she just wears a t-shirt and a skirt. So I made the skirt. And yeah. With Magneto, though, the other way I talk about it, I'm a big fan of the X-Men. Always have been. That's part of why I got into comic collecting. And so that's where a lot of my characters have been, but I also don't like to do a lot of wigs.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay.
or so some of my characters that I will tie into the hair. So Magneto, if you look at Magneto, has gray or white hair. I've worked in the past. I never got it finished or completed, but I was going to do Cable from the X-Men. He also has white or silver hair.
Wait a second.
Um,
I just looked up because I couldn't help it. I went
yeah.
to your Instagram and I got that's the picture of you as Magneto, right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait. I'm just gonna show it on the screen just so people don't have to
That's
wait.
okay. Yeah.
Let me see. I've never done. There you go. Look, this is it, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. Let me just say that. Like, gorgeous. Look at this. And you did something special to create this whole situation
Yeah.
going on in the center, didn't you?
So, and we've kind of talked about that before. So the other thing with training in this with cosplay, so with cosplay, especially if you're making props and sewing costumes, you've got to roll with the punches and you've got to figure out ways to get to a goal or get to your end means sometimes as cheaply as possible, right? Or using what you have on hand. And so that little ball that you see me suspending is a Christmas ornament that I ran a piece of stretch. It's like a stretchy string. It's not a string. It's more like a elastic band of sorts that I could suspend between my fingers, and then I
Yeah.
could manipulate the ball by basically releasing it the tension,
It
and it
is
could
so
slide on
cool.
the string back and forth, so it looks like I'm throwing it back and forth between my hands. But in pictures, you can't really see it. It's because it doesn't. It's translucent.
But again, it cost you all of what to
It
make
cost me all of the cost of that Christmas ornament and that string
that's
to make
amazing.
that, and the basically the impact that has, because that costume I actually competed in one of the conventions. I've competed in a couple of the costume contests
That's a,
for
excellent.
at some of the conventions because that's a big thing too. And that was the big thing. You walk out on stage and I have my hands closed and then I pop out and I stop in the middle of the stage and then you pop it up and there's this ball that seems to be floating between my hands.
Yeah,
Right. And that was all of, again, probably $5 worth of materials and
it's
just
amazing.
my playing around with it.
What
And
about the
again,
whole
just
costume itself, though? Like every other bit that was happening there, did you sew all of that as well?
so when it comes to like bodysuits, the under bodysuit that I was wearing, I did not sew that one. I did buy that bodysuit because again, something like that's not going to be um something that it's sort of I don't want to say an afterthought, but it's not the main part of the costume. So I made the cape, I made all of the gloves, I made the bracers, the boots I painted and added the detailing to it. The helmet, I did not have the skills at the time to make the helmet.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
did buy a raw cast, and what that is there was a another cosplayer. He had made molds of a helmet, and he would sell the helmets, but they would be raw cast, which mean you'd have to do all the finishing. Like you'd have to clean up the raw edges and whatnot, and then paint it. And so I had to do all the finishing on that, and I painted that helmet as well, which that helmet's painted with automotive paint because of uh, the way that you want it to look for
Yeah.
photos and the way that you want it to present, basically.
Wow. It's just
But
so involved and beautiful. And you were saying, and I got so excited and went and took a look at the
how do you
picture,
think?
but you were talking about like the way that you're actually deciding what you're going to do has a little bit to do with just your own personal preferences
Hmm.
around the hair.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. It's. I try and take that into account, or it's favorite characters that I like, or again, it's properties that I like. Much like or I had a group of friends that we would get together and we would cosplay, group cosplay. So we would pick a property, we'd pick a show, we'd a TV show or an anime or a cartoon, and we would all do characters from that show.
Okay.
Some people that may be familiar, Legend of Korra, it's a cartoon that was the sequel to sort of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And one of our conventions we went to, we all picked a character and we all made characters from The Legend of Korra.
Very
And so
cool.
we were
Yeah.
the main
You can go as a
characters.
group. Yeah. I
In a
love
one
that
year,
so much.
the Sailor Moon thing came because one year we all did Sailor Scouts. And so we did that. And then the next year I did a villain. So we had Sailor Scouts and villains.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's just a
Yeah.
combination of sort of what resonates with you.
Of course.
and where your interests lie.
Yeah, like what's going to light you up and what do you want to,
Hmm.
what are you going to want to continue with? And I mean, that's what we're faced with every day when we're doing our job. I mean, how
Hmm.
many of us teach the same courses over and over again? And you got to dig deep for that. How am I going to light this up today for them? And how am I going to,
Exactly. And
oh,
and that's the other thing that I liked about with cosplay and being creative and having to figure out how to make props, how to create props, how to do things on a dime, how to be creative. Like for instance, and I could show this prop too, which you've seen. My friends and I did, we did League of Their Own. They wanted to do League of Their Own, but we wanted to give it a pop culture spin. So we did Justice League of Their Own. So we did 1950s style baseball uniforms, men and women, but that we all picked a different superhero from the Justice League, and ours was, and mine was the Coast City Lanterns, because the Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, the original one, he was from Coast City. So I was the Coast City Lanterns. We all had our symbols on our jerseys and everything else. But I created this, and it's a baseball.
I love it. My husband loves this too.
And
He's big on baseball. And as soon as I showed him that, he's like, that's great. That was
yeah,
so creative. Yeah.
and this lights up. So because when Hal Jordan, since he's the Green Lantern, he creates constructs from his ring, his power ring, and they're all green and they all glow. So I created this, and when I put the battery in it, it glows.
Oh my
And it
God.
glows green because of the cellophane. This is just it's a little ornament that has green cellophane paper in it. I painted it with, I think it's the frosted, because you wanted to let light shine through with
Yes.
the frosted green. I added the stitching myself by hand with like a marker, like a Sharpie,
Yep. To make it look like a
and
baseball. Hmm.
make it look like a baseball. And again, thinking outside the box. This was all I did have to get some help with the wiring it's just a LED that attaches to a 9-volt battery that then shines, and the cellophane over it diffuses the light.
Oh, that's beautiful. I
So
mean,
yeah,
my
so
goodness, what a lesson in like how many of us are working on shoestring budgets and having to
right.
bring things together and wow, you can really pull from all these creative costumes that you've put together because these things a green baseball that lights up doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So there
Right.
you go.
And that's what we do day in and day out. We're not taking someone else's presentation, we're not taking someone else's topic and just presenting that. I mean, some of us sometimes are, but for the most part, we're creating our presentations, our trainings from scratch.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to get creative, especially if we want to embody the concept we're trying to teach, or we're trying to engage our audience to get them to really absorb that knowledge that we're trying to teach them.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to have the fancy layouts, you don't always have to have the newest software, etc. There's ways to think about it without breaking the bank, and without you get a little creative and you can come up with something that that shines, right? So
It's perfect. I was just gonna, I'd like to kind of bring our episode to a close by asking you to teach us something, and I think you just did. I think we just naturally made that happen with really rethinking the concept of it's time to get creative,
mhm.
and maybe we can kind of throw that term around a lot, like, oh, I got to get creative again. But just listening to you and the things that you've done and the way that you go about it, it's the actual definition of we need to get creative.
Yeah.
And
And, and another thing I want to add, I know we're wrapping up here too, is with sewing. And I thought about this, when we talked about the podcast, and I was thinking about what all I was going to talk about, and trying to figure out how cosplay really influences what I do day in and day out. Another thing too is with sewing, is when I was teaching myself how to sew. We all have to teach, and learning is, we're trying to instill in people that some people like to be lifetime learners, some people don't, some people, learn because they have to. But for me, I wanted to. And what I learned from teaching myself or learning on my own was that you got to roll with the punches, right? And so with sewing is not always forgiving. But you can always start over. But with training,
Mhm.
especially when you're in front of other people, sometimes you can't start over. So sometimes you just got to go roll with the punches, and you've got to learn how to deal with those snags or those seams that you can't rip out when you're sewing. You don't have that benefit when you're training. So that's the other thing too, I'd say, is learn to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And learn to move on. Let that little hitch, just don't let it derail you. Just take it as a bump and keep going.
Right. We are, after all, perfectly imperfect.
Exactly.
Yeah. What wonderful lessons. Because it all works out in the end, and it still looks amazing. And there's no way any of us know that seam wasn't perfect.
Right. Because behind you on this pacha looks amazing, right? It looks great. Such great. I can go to it right now and immediately pull up that little stitch that didn't get laid perfectly like I wanted it to, because the fabric wouldn't lay how I wanted, or my needle got caught in a thread and I didn't want to rip it out because that would cause me to rip out the whole thing, not just that small little half inch that didn't get laid down perfectly. So yeah.
No way.
So you got to remember the big picture. That's what they're going to remember. They're going to remember those concepts you're teaching you. They're not going to remember if I stumble over that one concept for a few seconds. Is, unless you dwell on it.
They're not going to remember the stumble. They're going to remember how much you dwelled on it. So don't dwell on it. That was good.
Exactly.
Wow, Guy. It's so fun to talk to you. And every time I get together with you, I see a new picture of something that you've created or learn a new detail. And it is absolutely delightful.
Well,
where can we connect with you? Where's the best place for us to learn more about the work that you do? I know you mentioned your Instagram, which we'll put in the show notes. But where else, if we wanted to connect with you, is the best place?
Probably LinkedIn. My LinkedIn would probably be the best way to connect with me. And I'm always open to networking and connections. So feel free to look me up. Feel free to add me. Again, if they want to see what I'm working on or what I've worked on, I haven't been in a little rut with cosplay. There's a few things that I'm probably going to get going, but yeah, Instagram would be for that. LinkedIn professionally. Unfortunately, most of the stuff that I develop training wise is internal for my department.
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
So that's not out there, but because I am very specific with our claims department, I do the technical training for them and stuff directed at that. So
yeah, but that's great though. And like that's a normal experience for many people that are listening in today too. But it is so fun to talk with you and to learn about this. And it's also just a very unique take that has so many practical applications. And we thank you for sharing your insights today with us and helping us think a little differently and get creative and literally think outside of the proverbial box, if you will.
Thank you. Well, it's been great. And I appreciate you letting me come on.
Thank you. That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Konnect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.